Of all the souls on this planet who will move through the 3 days of darkness, the Lightworkers will have the most extraordinary experience, and the most demanding one. These are not separate things. The extraordinariness and the demand are not in tension with each other. They are aspects of the same reality, two sides of the same threshold, because the souls who came here carrying the highest frequencies, who have spent this lifetime holding light in the densest conditions this planet offers, who have been doing the inner work that the current planetary shift requires with the greatest degree of genuine conscientiousness. These are precisely the souls who will experience the 3 days of darkness with the greatest depth, and from that depth, they will emerge with the greatest capacity to serve what comes after. Before we explore what the Pleiadians say that experience will actually look like from the inside, there is something they want to establish. Something that changes the entire orientation of what follows. Something that, if received clearly, transforms the prospect of the 3 days of darkness from something to be navigated into something to be genuinely welcomed. They want you to understand that you are not in this alone. Not in the philosophical sense that all of humanity shares a common journey. Not in the comfort of knowing that others are going through something similar. But in the very specific, very literal, very practically real sense that the presence that has always accompanied you, the unseen, often unfelt, persistently real company that has been with you through every moment of difficulty and every moment of genuine clarity throughout this entire lifetime. That presence will be, during the 3 days of darkness, more directly accessible than it has ever been in your experience as a human being. The veil that has kept most of what you genuinely are from your ordinary awareness is precisely what the 3 days of darkness begins to dissolve. And as it dissolves, what becomes available is not an encounter with something foreign or frightening or overwhelmingly alien to your experience. It is a reunion with something that has always been present, with a fullness of awareness and a depth of connection that the conditions of ordinary incarnated consciousness have not previously made available. A reunion with the fuller version of who you actually are, with the broader consciousness from which this specific incarnation was taken, with the awareness that existed before this lifetime began and that will continue after it is complete, and with the company of beings who have been accompanying this journey from dimensions of existence that the ordinary human perceptual apparatus has not been able to directly detect. This is what the 3 days of darkness carries for Lightworkers at its most essential level. And this is why the Pleiadians describe what the most genuinely prepared souls will experience during those days, not with fear, but with something that can only be described as joy. Let us explore what they say will actually happen. In the earliest stage of the 3 days of darkness, as the ordinary rhythms of the world pause and the noise of external reality temporarily and profoundly quiets, many Lightworkers will experience an initial disorientation. Not fear, primarily, or not fear in the ordinary sense of threat perceived and danger anticipated, but a quality of unfamiliarity with the sudden, complete, unprecedented quality of the stillness, with the absence of the constant stimulation that even the most spiritually developed human beings have learned to navigate as background texture. The world will be still in a way it has not been still in living memory, perhaps in the living memory of many generations. A stillness so complete that it carries its own quality of presence, its own weight, its own unmistakable sense of being something rather than simply the absence of something else. And that stillness, at first, will simply feel strange, foreign, outside the range of what the nervous system has been calibrated to handle. But very quickly, far more quickly for those who have developed a genuine relationship with inner stillness through sustained practice, something will shift. The stillness outside will begin to meet the stillness inside. The silence of the world will begin to resonate with the silence that genuine contemplative practice has cultivated in the interior landscape. And in that resonance, In that moment of genuine meeting between the outer and the inner stillness, something will open. A quality of awareness that was always available but always obscured by the noise of the ordinary world. A depth of presence that the ordinary demands of incarnated life consistently prevent from being fully inhabited. A contact with the fuller dimensions of what consciousness actually is that the density of ordinary human experience consistently filters. During the 3 days of darkness, that filtering is removed. Not gradually, not partially, but with a thoroughness and a completeness that the Pleiadians describe as unprecedented in the ordinary course of human experience. The veil becomes so thin in those 3 days that what has always been present on the other side of it becomes directly, immediately, undeniably perceptible. What Lightworkers will perceive in those days of unusual stillness and unusual openness, the Pleiadians describe with what can only be called reverence. Many will experience what they describe as inner illumination, not a visual experience, necessarily, though many will perceive something that registers as light in their awareness, but a quality of consciousness that is light-like in its essential nature, clear in a way that ordinary clarity cannot touch, boundless in a way that ordinary awareness cannot approach, revealing in a way that ordinary perception cannot match. In this illuminated awareness, things become visible that the ordinary state of consciousness has never allowed to be seen clearly. The deeper nature of the specific life that has been lived, the threads of purpose that have been woven through every apparently ordinary moment, the conversations that mattered more than they appeared to, the choices that redirected trajectories in ways that could not be fully perceived from inside them, the seemingly random encounters that were not random at all, but were the precise delivery of exactly what was needed at exactly the moment it could be received. The connections between this lifetime and the broader arc of development that extends across many lifetimes. The reasons for the specific challenges that have been carried, the specific gifts that have been developed, the specific wounds that have produced the specific capacities for compassion and understanding that only genuine suffering produces. And the recognition, arriving not as information, but as direct, felt, completely undeniable experience of what the soul actually is, beyond this body, beyond this personality, beyond the stories and the identities and the accumulated layers of a single incarnated life. What it actually is in the fullness of what consciousness is, when it is not filtered through the limitations of a single human experience. This is the gift that the 3 days of darkness carries for Lightworkers at its deepest level. The gift of genuine self-recognition, of being fully, finally, irrevocably seen by the fullness of one's own awareness for exactly what one is. But the Pleiadians want to be honest about what comes alongside this gift, because the experience of genuine self-recognition is not uniformly comfortable. Clarity of this depth and this completeness reveals not only what is beautiful and purposeful and genuinely accomplished in the development of a soul, it also reveals, with the honesty that ordinary consciousness protects most people from encountering too directly, what is incomplete, what remains unresolved, what has been avoided rather than genuinely worked through. The gaps between who the soul has been in this incarnation and who the soul is genuinely capable of being. The places where the genuine work was done and the places where something was managed or suppressed or deferred rather than truly addressed. This revelation is not experienced as condemnation. The Pleiadians are very clear about this. It does not arrive with judgment or criticism or any quality of being found insufficient. It arrives within a quality of love and compassion and complete recognition of the soul's genuine worth and genuine progress that transforms the honest assessment from something wounding into something liberating. To see clearly, in the light of one's own full awareness, what is not yet complete, and to see it from a place of such complete love that the incompleteness is simply information rather than evidence of failure. This is one of the most extraordinary experiences available to a consciousness in incarnation, and the 3 days of darkness makes it available for those who have prepared sufficiently to receive it in a way that ordinary life almost never does. Many light workers will also experience, during these days, an expansion of connection that goes beyond anything previously available to them in ordinary consciousness. The sense of accompaniment that many light workers have felt throughout their lives, the intuition of unseen presences, the occasional direct experience of guidance or support from dimensions that ordinary consciousness cannot reliably access. This sense will intensify and clarify dramatically during the 3 days of darkness. What was once a felt sense, occasional and somewhat uncertain, becomes something more like direct perception. The beings who have been accompanying this journey from their dimensions of existence become, in the unusual conditions of the 3 days of darkness, genuinely perceptible. Not as voices or visions, necessarily, though such experiences may occur, but as a quality of presence, of company, of being genuinely, specifically, and intimately accompanied by something that knows this soul and this journey with a completeness that no human being and no human relationship has ever quite managed. This experience of genuine accompaniment may be, for many light workers, the most personally significant aspect of the 3 days of darkness. Because many of them have carried, throughout this lifetime, a quality of loneliness that has no adequate explanation in the ordinary facts of their biographical circumstances. A sense of being not quite met by the ordinary world, of carrying something that the people around them, however caring and however well-intentioned, could not quite reach or quite recognize. During the 3 days of darkness, that loneliness completes. Not permanently, the conditions of ordinary life will reassert themselves as the 3 days end and the world returns to its ordinary rhythms, changed but continuous, but sufficiently, in a way that leaves a permanent residue of knowing that cannot be forgotten, that the accompaniment is real, that the loneliness of this incarnation was never the whole truth of the situation, that the company, however invisible in ordinary consciousness, was always there. And from this experience, from the self-recognition and the expanded connection and the genuine illumination of 3 days of unprecedented inner depth, light workers will emerge carrying something new. Not new in the sense of having acquired information or understanding that was previously unavailable, but new in the sense of inhabiting what they already are more fully than they have ever inhabited it before, of having been genuinely present with the fullness of their own consciousness, and having come through that encounter not diminished but expanded. They will emerge with what the Pleiadians describe as a settled knowing, a quality of grounded certainty about who they are and what they are here for that does not require external confirmation and cannot be disrupted by external contradiction. A compass that has been calibrated in the fullness of genuine self-recognition and that now points with a reliability and a precision that was not previously available. And they will have a role that is more important than anything they have done before. They will be the ones who can meet the confusion and the fear and the profound disorientation of those around them who did not have the preparation to receive the 3 days of darkness with clarity, and who can hold that confusion with the genuine compassion and the grounded presence of someone who has navigated the same territory and who knows from direct experience that it is navigable. They will be the anchors, the guides, the living demonstrations, not through any teaching or instruction, but through the simple quality of their actual presence, that the territory of higher consciousness is not something to be feared, that what the solar flash and the 3 days of darkness have made available is genuinely extraordinary, that the disorientation is temporary, and what comes through it is worth everything the passage costs. This is why light workers came. This specific incarnation, in this specific period, with its specific challenges and its specific demands. The long preparation has been building toward exactly this, toward having exactly the capacity that this moment requires. The 3 days of darkness is not something to fear. For the Lightworkers who are genuinely prepared, it is the culmination, the arrival of what the entire long journey has been moving toward. The moment when the carrying finally, fully, and irreversibly transforms into the shining. Are you ready? The Pleiadians ask this not to create anxiety, not to suggest that there is a standard to be met that you may have failed, but to invite honest reflection about where you are and what is still available to be developed in whatever time remains. Because readiness is not a fixed destination, it is a direction. The consistent, genuine, daily movement toward greater openness, greater honesty, greater presence, greater alignment between what you know and how you live. If you have been moving in that direction, you are ready. Not perfectly, not completely, but in the way that genuinely matters. In the way that the 3 days of darkness will recognize and meet with exactly what you have been building toward. Keep moving in that direction with a quiet, grounded, completely unsexy, but completely real consistency that is the actual substance of genuine preparation. There is one more thing the Pleiadians want to say to the Lightworkers who are receiving this transmission. Something that goes beyond information or guidance or practical preparation and advice. Something that is simply an acknowledgement of what has been carried. They see what you have carried in this lifetime. The sensitivity that made ordinary life genuinely more difficult than it appeared to others. The loneliness of being attuned to frequencies that most of the people around you could not perceive. The exhaustion of holding a light in conditions that were not designed to support it. The long nights of questioning whether any of it was real, whether any of it was worth it, whether the quiet, invisible work of inner development was actually contributing to anything beyond your own private experience. They see all of it, every moment of it, and they want you to know something that, from within the difficulty of carrying it, has often been impossible to clearly perceive. It was always real. It always mattered. It was never small. And the 3 days of darkness is the moment when the full significance of what has been carried, quietly, persistently, often without recognition, becomes unmistakably visible, not as a reward, but as a revelation. The revelation of what was always true. The threshold is closer than most people think, and what waits on the other side of it, for the souls who have been genuinely moving toward it, is everything the long preparation has been building toward. Take what resonates, leave what does not, and trust yourself completely to know the difference. This content is offered for spiritual reflection, symbolic interpretation, and personal insight only. It is not presented as scientific fact, medical advice, or a prediction of real-world events. The narration in this video is generated using artificial intelligence voice technology. Please use your own discernment and personal judgment when engaging with this material.